Entertainment Weekly critic Lisa Schwarzbaum said that this movie provides a fair amount of shallow fun, pretending that 1980s heavy metal was actually heavy. Kimberly Jones of the Austin Chronicle wrote, "Okay, so the plot's as fantastical and absurd as that whole awful era, but damned if it isn't a good time." And Letterboxd user Peachy K raved, "Big hair, wild clothes, broken hearts, and rock and roll. My kind of film." On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Rockstar!
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters!
Wow.
Greetings, Starfighters. Welcome to Ruined Childhoods.
Greetings. Welcome
Ruined
to
eardrums. Ruined adulthoods.
You know what? We are a metal podcast. There's no way around it. You know, we just can't help but just rock really hard all the time. Enough of that easy listening bullshit.
It is in our nature
it's not for us
to rock. We are genetically engineered to be as metal as humanly possible, and nobody could even look at us and think otherwise.
No, not at all. I mean, you take one look at us and you're just like, wow.
I mean,
those
and
guys
even
are
if you
metal.
don't see us together, like you'll see one of us and be like, that is the most metal dude I've ever seen, until you see the other one, and then you see the other one, you're like, maybe that guy's more metal.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to Ruined Childhoods. We are talking about Rockstar from 2001 on this episode. Dan, do you have anything else that you wanted to add about Vertigo?
I wish it was more metal, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, not enough metal. Not enough metal. I was thinking back to... There are so many metal movies that I love. Okay, let me go down my ranking of like favorite metal movies, if you will. Heavy Metal Parking Lot is easily top 5. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Have you not seen Heavy Metal Parking Lot?
No, it just made me think of this thing I saw online about like Styx's bus being parked in a Walmart parking lot and like rocking too loud, and like someone in a trailer nearby complaining. So,
okay,
is that
Dan,
a Heavy Metal Parking Lot? Styx?
No. Let me tell you about Heavy Metal Parking Lot. So this came out, it was created in like 86. And it was like these guys who went around with a video camera, just a camcorder, in the parking lot before a Judas Priest and Dokken concert. Judas Priest, which will come up later. Mm-hmm. And Dokken concert in like, is it Maryland or Delaware? It might be Delaware.
I hope so.
And it's these... and it's just going around to all these different groups of people hanging out outside their cars before going in. And, you know, they're drinking and they're getting high and stuff. And it's the most amazing people you'd ever see. And they're all like, you know, in their late teens, mostly early 20s. And they're just these huge metalheads. And it's these people going around with a camcorder, which at the time, a camcorder was quite the novelty. You didn't see a lot of people going around with cameras. And it's these people being interviewed just about like their experience and how much they love Judas Priest and Dokken. And oh my God, it's so much fun. And the filmmakers did a couple of follow-ups where they did Harry Potter parking lot, which was a parking lot before a Harry Potter book release, and then Neil Diamond parking lot. But neither of those came anywhere near as incredible as Heavy Metal parking
Neil
lot.
Diamond parking lot became Saving Silverman.
Yeah, kind of. And speaking of Saving Silverman, co-starring Jack Black, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny is another one of my favorite metal movies. Before you logged on to our session here, I was listening to a little bit of that soundtrack. It's just so
wow.
good. Mostly the battle at the end with Satan.
The battle at the end is awesome. I love the intro. You and I saw that movie together. Yes,
we did. Yeah,
yeah. And there are moments, in so many moments in that movie that I will never forget. And I've seen it a few times since, but yeah, the opening scene where Meatloaf is Jack Black's father, it's the two of them, and it's young Jack Black lip syncing actual Jack Black's voice. It's very funny. So yes,
it's so good,
very metal.
One of my other favorite metal movies, and this may be my number one favorite metal movie, is Airheads, which I love that movie so damn much. It's got such an incredible cast, like peak Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler before he was really Adam Sandler. Right on the cusp, but you still get some of that classic stuff. You have Michael McKean, Michael Richards, who we've talked about a lot recently.
Joe Mantegna.
Chris
Farley. Chris Farley is in it.
Awesome. Chris Farley. Oh my God. It's so
Amy Locane teaming with Brendan Fraser.
Right. Yeah, reuniting with Brendan Fraser from School Ties, and so and then of course we have Rockstar, which I don't know if it's among my favorite metal movies, but it is a metal movie, and there aren't all that many of them that I can think of. So I guess Rockstar is up there, but I love Rockstar. It's so much fun. It's ridiculous. Everybody in it is taking it so seriously, as they damn well should. And we're all better people for it.
Yeah, Rockstar is a fun movie, and it's overlooked. Unfortunately was released in theaters. Not that early September is not usually the best movie release time. That tends to be like, kind of the afterthoughts of the summer movie season tend to get.
It's right before all of the like big dramatic like Oscar movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's
out.
it's like it's right at the beginning of school, so you've got a little less like people just don't have all day. You don't have kids just kind of like with their spendable income, and then September 2001.
Yeah.
Especially like the weekend prior to the 11th, the weekend of September 7th.
Right.
Not the best. Probably not the best. People were not, I mean, maybe that weekend, but
right. Well, but be that as it may, that does mean that this movie is celebrating its 20th anniversary in really just a few weeks after this episode comes out, which is very exciting.
Because it's the 20th anniversary of 9/11, so of course.
We don't have to talk about that, but it's the 20th anniversary of the release of Rockstar, September 7th, 2001. And I don't think that I saw this one in the theater. I'm pretty sure I saw it when it came out on DVD, probably like a Netflix physical rental. And it was, it's ridiculous.
I saw it in the theater in Louisiana.
Oh, right. Yeah, you were touring.
This was in
at the
my
time.
past life. As our regular listeners know, I'm now a high school teacher in West Seattle, and but in my past life was an actor and occasionally working actor, and one of my jobs was a children's theater tour that was based out of Kenner, Louisiana, which is a suburb of New Orleans. So, in fact, I flew to New Orleans, I want to say on the 8th of September, 2001.
So, Dan, when you were touring around with this children's theater group, did the wives and girlfriends have to go in a separate limo behind the tour bus? How did that work?
Yes, no, only our stylists, astrologists,
Vocal coaches, yes,
were allowed on the tour bus. No.
On the main bus.
What's actually funny is there was a couple on. It was a small crew of us. It was a 4-person cast, and then like a stage manager and a house manager. And the lone actress, the lone woman on the tour, was dating the stage manager. So they have been together since, I guess they met on a previous tour for this company. So
gotcha.
But yeah, no, we didn't. They were allowed to travel in the same vehicle.
Dan, I'm sorry if I'm looking off to the side and chuckling. So we're recording this during a weekday, and because I typically record in the same room where my wife has her working from home office, I had to move my recording setup into our daughter's bedroom, and my dog is in a children's like pop-up tent. And she's like wiggling around, getting comfortable. And I just see this like tent. It's like a circus tent, like kind of just like shaking around behind me. And it's cracking me up. But yeah. Okay. So you saw it in the theater while you were
Yeah,
out there.
I think it was like our first, our first little like trip to the movies. 'Cause on weekends we would just kind of be staying in whatever hotel, Super 8 or whatever was along the highway, tradition, close to whatever else you'd normally find alongside of the, Arby's and all that.
Right.
So, every now and again we would luck out and we'd be near a movie theater. And if I remember correctly, this was like maybe our first weekend on the road. And yeah,
Okay.
I remember I saw like quite a few movies on that tour. I'll never forget the double feature I did one day of the Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie Collateral Damage, and then the Robert Altman Academy Award nominated Gosford Park. So
Interesting. What a double feature.
I mean, that's kind of how I would describe myself to someone, is just like, I did a double feature one day of Collateral Damage and Gosford Park and enjoyed them both equally. So, which is to say very much. So anyway, but back to Rockstar. I mean, geez, how do you follow? Rockstar is no opening act. That's a headliner right there.
Yeah. Well, why don't I do a little synopsis? And let's see. I'm trying to see if I need to hit the spoiler alert button. Yeah, I'll do it anyway.
Spoiler alert.
Pittsburgh, 1985. Chris Cole assists in a drab office by day, but at night he's the singer for Blood Pollution, Pittsburgh's hottest Steel Dragon tribute band. The problem is that Chris and Rob, Blood Pollution's lead guitarist, are in the middle of a falling out due to creative differences. Namely, Rob wants to be more creative and Chris wants to honor Steel Dragon note for note. This, however, isn't a problem for Kirk Cuddy, Steel Dragon's lead guitarist. Kirk sees footage of one of Blood Pollution's performances and invites Chris to join Steel Dragon, replacing Bobby Beers, the founding lead singer and Chris's idol. Chris now becomes Izzy and is thrown into the metal world headfirst. This doesn't exactly work for Emily, Chris/Izzy's girlfriend and manager, who is relegated to the wives and girlfriends limo that rides behind the band bus. as mentioned earlier. She decides to live on her own in Seattle. Good for her. I hope she bought real estate. Their relationship grows more distant and the deeper Chris gets into the Steel Dragon lifestyle. And when Chris makes an attempt to add his own flair to new songs for the band's new album, he quickly gets shot down. Luckily, Chris is able to draw parallels between how Steel Dragon is treating him to how he treated his old pal Rob. Now, Chris has to decide if he remains Steel Dragon's puppet or if he should carve his own path and maybe just invent grunge music. So Chris/Izzy is played by Mark Wahlberg. Jennifer Aniston is his girlfriend, Emily. Timothy Oliphant is Rob, the blood pollution guitar player in an earlier role for him, which is always exciting. We have Jason Fleming as Bobby Beers, the original Steel Dragon vocalist. Timothy Spall as their road manager. Dominic West as Kirk Cuddy. We have Jason Bonham, son of John Bonham, on drums for Steel Dragon. There's plenty of actual other musicians that are smattered throughout here, as well as former and maybe also current spouses or girlfriends for metal musicians playing the spouses and girlfriends of Steel Dragon. And big shout out to bass player Brian Vander Ark, Blood Pollution's bass player, also of the Verve Pipe, which who also wrote one of the songs in the that's in the movie. And also of note is, and I don't have his name right here with me, but
Stephen Jenkins.
I think that I might. Stephen Jenkins.
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with that. So,
which one is Stephen Jenkins?
So Stephen Jenkins of Third Eye Blind is Bradley,
right?
The lead singer of Pittsburgh's other premier Steel Dragon tribute band. I forget what they call themselves, but yeah. Who then comes in to replace Chris in Blood Pollution.
Yeah. And big shout out also to Beth Grant of the Joel Schumacher Players, who is here as Chris Cole's mom, who runs a daycare out of their house. So yeah, this movie's such a trip.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like the introduction. So I guess here's the spoiler alert is only because I'm going to.
Spoiler alert.
So I'm going to break the rules and talk, because the next movie that we're going to be covering on our next episode is Caddyshack, and the introduction to Chris with his house full of kids and like he's hogging up the bathroom reminds me so much of the character introduction to Danny Noonan and the Noonan family in Caddyshack. Yeah. So absolutely. I was like, wow, all right. Geez, the stars have aligned, and I don't just mean the stars of metal.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to see actors like Timothy Oliphant and Dominic West, who I think people know best for the Wire.
Right.
To see them kind of like metaled and permed up, like the hair. Got kind of like it's Brian May. It's basically Brian May hair. Yeah. So the movie is based on the true story of Tim Ripper Owens, who was the lead singer of a Judas Priest tribute band that was then pulled to take over for Rob Halford after he left Judas Priest.
Right. And, lots of parallels there. And I'm also going to give a disclaimer before playing any clips, because this movie, much like the metal world when Rob Halford came out of the closet, there's a lot of homophobia and gay panic going on. So you're going to hear some words, perhaps, that maybe aren't so friendly to the LGBTQ plus community.
Well, yeah, and also, you know, and however, and this is definitely a note that I have is as much as you know, a lot of words that are just kind of thrown around jokingly, and you know, like as insults to each other. You know, we've grown, we've evolved, but in mid 1980s, especially in the world of metal, there was definitely a lot of that, a lot of ironic homophobia from you know, guys who were, you know, glam rockers.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of. This is a moment where Chris and Emily, excuse me, come to Los Angeles so Chris can audition to be the new singer for Steel Dragon, which he doesn't really know what he's there for at the moment. But this is where we find out that exactly why Bobby is getting kicked out of the band.
Hey, man. Hey. Thanks for coming. Not too fagged out, are you?
No, I don't think so.
Did Matt's the road manager?
Hey, yeah. I saw you in Pittsburgh. You gave everybody a backstage pass but me.
Yeah, from the looks of you, I had good reason, right? Hello.
Hi.
So we all just saw a tape of you singing, provided by the lovely Nina and Samantha.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys.
We were just wondering if the incredible voice on the tape really belongs to you. No, that'd be you, Bobby.
You think you can bring in some child to replace me, do you?
You want to do your own thing, we're
Well,
going to let
tell
you
me
go.
what you're doing here. You're firing me, aren't you?
Calm down, Bobby.
You
Just
calm down, you wanker! It's because I'm gay, isn't it?
Okay.
No. I got both my nipples pierced, bought a house in Morocco because I'm John fucking Wayne. Have you ever listened to the lyrics of stand-up, Did you really think that Kim was a girl? Kim was a guy? Yeah, Kim was a guy. He also happens to be my lover, much to the horror of these closeted sausage jockeys.
Bobby, as if we give a toss who you're buggering.
Whatever, Bob. Just keep your dick away from me, though.
Stop it, man, I tell you.
No, what bothers us, Bobby, is you don't turn up for recording sessions.
do.
You missed half the gigs on the last tour. When you did show your attitude.
Look, I am Steel Dragon! Without me, you're nothing!
Give us a break.
You'll be playing for coppers in the tube without me!
We'll see.
We'll see.
It's also like, we get it. You're British.
Oh, what with all the
With all the slang. Yeah. It's like, first of all, you all clearly live in LA. No one's going to be on the tube. It's really fine. Like, calm down. We get it. You're British. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the reveal, and it's it's a direct reference to Judas Priest. When Rob Halford came out, of course we don't know what things were like at the time for them, behind closed doors, but the metal community is very much driven by sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but like the idea, especially in the mid 80s, of this metal icon coming out as gay is shocking.
Well, and it's not that he's coming out publicly.
No.
Also, I do buy it that, like, that's not why he's out of the band. Like, that's not. Yeah. I mean, the whole, like, keep your dick away from me comment, it's like, yeah, that's. Like, yes, that is actual that is like actual homophobia. That is actual like fear. And it's not and right, like it's not a developed, it's not an evolved view, but when Dominic West says, like, you think we give a toss who you're buggering because we're British,
right?
I buy it because it's like it's about the money, like, to them, and it's clearly about, they live this like opulent lifestyle.
Yes, there's that, but there's definitely also an element of the machismo, and that leads me to the next clip that I want to play, which, Dan, you didn't tell me to pull this one. I pulled this one on my own.
You went rogue?
I went rogue. So a lot of times we pick the same ones essentially, but this one I was surprised you didn't want to pull because this is when they're doing their first like press conference introducing Izzy to the world, and this is how they go about answering one of the questions.
Izzy, how do you keep your voice in such great shape? Oh, Miss Reed, my choir teacher, she always gives me some really cool exercises. Eats a lot of pussy, that's how. Oh, yeah, I eat a lot of pussy. Hey. Classic.
Like father, like son.
That's my boy.
Hi, you guys.
How was it? So good, so comfortable.
I kept messing up on my English
No,
accent.
it was great. Nice way to handle that pussy line, by the way.
Whoa, what's I gonna do? I can't argue with
Izzy,
you.
honey, don't worry. I'm gonna make an honest man out of you.
And then in the mirror.
I eat a lot of pussy. Loads of it. I eat a lot of pussy. Tons. I got more voice eating pussy, man. It's like a vocal technique exercise. I got eating pussy, man. Loads of it. All the time. Tons. That's all I do. Breakfast, morning, noon, night. Got to have it, man. That's all I do is eat pussy a lot.
Chris! Either get in here and do it or shut up! Hold on!
Yeah. All right.
All due respect to Robert De Niro and Taxi Driver, but nobody does a talking to themselves in the mirror to psych themselves up scene like Mark Wahlberg. One of the many echoes of his performance in Boogie Nights.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the talking into a mirror moments for sure are iconic. I also want to talk about Chris's parents, played by Beth Grant and Matthew Glave, is it?
Glave.
Oh no, that's
is that
that's
the brother?
They're the brother, yeah. Michael
brother
Seamus.
is awesome.
Michael Seamus Wiles. Right. Glenn Guglia.
Yes, thank you. I knew him from somewhere. Oh shit! And it
From The Wedding Singer.
I actually looked him up on IMDb. How did I miss that?
That's so funny. So yeah, like they're watching the press conference and she turns to him and says like father, like son. It's so weird.
It's one of the things that I appreciate about this movie, especially in its kind of first act, is it tries to take the cliches and all the cliches that were lampooned in Walk Hard and the whole, right. Oh, like, why can't you be more like your brother? And oh, how can you say and do these things? And what are you wearing? The screenplay, which was co-written by, I know Callie Corey, who wrote Thelma and Louise, was one of the writers on it. And it was also John Stockwell, who, oh shit, what else did he do? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. He worked on I think he worked on he was an actor. He acted. That's why I know him from things. He was in Top Gun. And then he also directed like Into the Blue, this movie called Cheaters. He directed Blue Crush, Crazy Beautiful, which kind of an underrated movie there.
I didn't love it. I saw that one in the theater.
Oh, Crazy Beautiful. I saw it on cable. Anyway,
but yeah, and also should be noted, this was done under George Clooney's production company. He's an executive producer on this movie. It was originally supposed to star Brad Pitt, and I'm kind of glad that it ended up being Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is something that I don't think I would normally say. No,
but it's. I mean, all right, Boogie Nights aside, because there's going to be similarities. It's like we're not like trying to innovate storytelling. This is not a Charlie Kaufman script, but
no. All I'm saying is I think that Brad Pitt's better when he's a supporting character, and I I like it when he's a little bit more subdued. And this is a character that is not at all
No,
subdued.
and I don't think that Brad Pitt would make this as interesting as Mark Wahlberg did. Now, I do have, I guess, on that note, where I think the movie had potential for more was in the tone and also keeping in mind that this is pre-Walk Hard, it's pre-Pop Star.
Right.
So I think that had the tone, and by the way, this is directed by Stephen Herrick, who directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So, he knows something about, comedy. And I think that this film could have leaned more into the satirical element, and therefore, because I think it goes that way in the beginning, and having wait a second, the parents prefer the rock star brother who still lives at home to the cop, and they're not embarrassed by him.
They're very supportive.
They're extremely
parents.
Supportive, and even the brother gets into it.
He gets into it,
and they're doing all these things, and even the real life twist that Bobby Beers is gay is, it could be, you could also look at it as a turning the rock genre on its head, the cliche of the womanizing rock star. So I mean, less so.
The movie definitely has a bit of an identity crisis where, it's it feels like it should be a comedy, but it isn't. And that's, I think, where you take a movie, going back to Airheads, where it's about these metal guys. It's a comedy, but it's not making fun of metal. It's still celebrating the genre and the people who are fans of the music, but it's not making fun of anybody. It's making fun of the people that metal people don't like, the easy listening guy.
And I think Rockstar, part of the challenge, and I would love to talk to John Stockwell or Kali Curry or Stephen Herrick and ask them about this, but even though it is pre all of those other, musical satires that we're familiar with now in 21st century, we are also post This Is Spinal Tap. So does the fact that
Spinal Tap, which is also in my top metal movies.
Yes. And it's because also this is clearly coming after the whole VH1 Behind the Music, and those TV rock documentaries that are just it's all the drama. I remember I loved watching them, and I would always get excited when they would do an artist I liked. But then I watched the REM Behind the Music, and it was so boring because they didn't the only real drama that they had was when Bill Berry got, the drummer for REM, got an aneurysm during the Monster tour and ended up having to leave the band. But even Michael Stipe coming out was he was I wasn't being secret. He wasn't
no, it's also more of an art band than it is, a rock band. And, he's a poet.
Yeah, but on the other, but I mean, then you've got your Fleetwood Macs, which are not exactly metal, but damn, that was a great Behind the Music. But anyway, so I think, but it's also you can't, and they go into that, that little bit of documentary style.
Yeah, that's another place where I feel it's a bit of an identity crisis, because it's at the beginning and at the end, they do these kind of sit down interview type things with some of the band members. And, it starts and you see Chris Cole, and he's a little grunged out. He's got a, weird sweater on and stuff.
And it's not even, it's that post grunge. I feel it's 1995 alternative, because it's Kurt Cobain has died and rock is we're gonna tone it down a little bit.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's not early grunge, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. It's not the heavy grunge. It's the light grunge.
It's Eddie Vedder solo. It's Chris Cornell.
It's
solo.
Eddie Vedder solo. Yeah, and what's so interesting about it is like that's why the synopsis has like, did he invent grunge? Because it doesn't seem like much time is supposed to have gone by, because like, you know, the story starts in 1985, and the story of him with Steel Dragon ends when they're like getting ready to release their next album. So maybe it's 1987.
I think it's that was kind of where I placed it, was 87. And I placed the ending in 95, though I was not certain. Was that club in Pittsburgh or in Seattle?
See, I thought that it was in Seattle because I get the impression that Emily, you know, she moved to Seattle and she, I'm guessing, opened up a coffee shop with one of the other girlfriends.
Well, they had another.
It
was another. They had another business idea.
It's another business.
Yeah.
Well, I see. The thing is, like, when you have a coffee shop in grunge, you have to just imagine that it's in Seattle during that time,
and it's singles. Then, you know.
Sure, but yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. I wish that they would have like given some sort of a like 9 years later or something to make it make sense. But it's also like, they never kept in touch at all. Okay. She doesn't know anything about what he's up to. All right.
Yeah.
I know this is like a pre-internet era.
Yeah. I mean, but it's still a little like, for that much of a gap from 87 where he walks off. And I love, by the way, how he leaves the band.
Yeah. Let me play a little clip from that.
You guys, spent most of the break working on some songs for the album. I mean, they're still rough, but I wanted to get you guys' input before I went further. I don't know. It's just a thought, but does that make for a cool cover? I mean, no title, no band name. Could be heavy. What do you think?
Is it? It looks great.
Well, I'm not done yet. I mean, it still needs work.
I'm glad you've been having some fun writing your songs.
Well, actually, I busted my ass working on the songs.
Yeah, but the tunes for the new album, they've already been written.
What do you mean?
Well, AC and I wrote them during the break.
Well, look, I know you and AC do most of the writing.
Not most of the writing, all of the writing.
Yeah, but shouldn't I have some input? I mean, I'm part of the group now, right? I'm the one that has to sing the tune, so you'd think you'd at least want me to put my stamp on them. I mean, I'm not just...
Listen.
You guys aren't just expecting me to be some singer for hire, are you?
Look. Let me explain. Come here. Listen. Our fans, right? Our loyal, die-hard fans. Our very lifeblood, if you will. Expect to see certain things, all right? And we like to give them what they want. And we don't deviate from that, because one disappointed fan can quickly turn to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and on like that, until the next thing you know, we're playing to a half-empty hall. And our lost sheep are off enjoying the rock stylings of, say, Rat. So while I understand your impulse to do your own thing, and I admire it in some small way, if you want to stay with Steel Dragon, then you're going to have to reconcile yourself for the time being to doing the Steel Dragon thing. All right? And the Steel Dragon thing is that AC and I write the songs, and you sing the songs that we write. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Good.
And then at a concert, he does exactly what he wishes would have happened to have him at the beginning.
Hold on, before you play that.
Oh, I don't have
okay.
that.
Oh, good. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so, but
it's not really an. That one's better visually.
So
than
here is where you do have some hint that that they did push Bobby out because he's gay. But it's so like, and I don't, this could just be connecting things that aren't intentionally connected. But he says, Kirk says he and AC do like write the songs. They write the songs. However, in the scene with Bobby, or the one that we listened to earlier, Bobby
Right.
talks about the lyrics that presumably he wrote for Stand Up and Shout.
I thought that, was it the lyrics or was it the preamble that he does? No, because it is a preamble before.
Because he
a different
talks about,
song.
well,
Right.
he talks about, like, haven't you ever listened to the lyric? He says, he
Right,
says, I know,
right.
yeah. So, which tells me that Bobby did some writing on the songs, and that maybe Kirk and AC were not happy about that. So maybe
They wanted more control.
Now the Steel Dragon thing is Kirk and AC, because he's really, and this is, it's something that the movie doesn't really go into, but Kirk, I mean, as we were saying before, he's in it for the money. And that's, I mean, how often do you hear a musician say, oh no, we want to keep doing the same thing. We don't want to, usually it's the label that's like, no, keep
Right.
making the same thing. And it's a musician's like, no, man, I just want to, like, throw some flamenco guitar in there or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They're not artists. They're a company. They're a brand.
Right. Which, yeah, I mean, like that's true. That is what it is. And I think that that's an aspect of kind of like what happened to a lot of those metal bands. I mean, like, I know this is based on Judas Priest, but I think about like a Guns N' Roses, which is also becoming big. I mean, Appetite for Destruction comes out in 87. So you've got bands like them where, and it goes to the point where it's like, well, can we just swap out the lead singer, especially when there's so many guys out there who can look and sound just like him?
Yeah.
Maybe I was trying to think about like bands that really have done that successfully, and rather than just, like bands that have actually swapped out their lead singer or replaced their lead singer and actually AC/DC is one, but it's not.
AC/DC is one. They did it pretty early.
I mean, he died, so.
Well, he
yeah.
died, right? Yeah, and same goes for Queen. They toured with Adam Lambert. Is
They
that
toured
right?
with Paul Rogers of Bad Company. They toured with Adam. They've toured with They've toured with a few singers, but there was a long time after Freddie Mercury died that they didn't tour.
Right, and just because it's so relevant to what we're talking about, but the same thing happened with I think the writer of Stand Up and Shout, Sammy Hagar. He replaced David Lee Roth and then was replaced by Gary Sharon.
And I guess,
who was then replaced by David Lee Roth.
guess the thing is with a band like Van Halen, one could argue that like Eddie Van Halen is still in the band. So that's really what matters.
Well, I mean, yes, but David Lee Roth was a huge draw.
Oh,
in their early career.
I agree. And I'm not the world's biggest Van Halen fan, but to me, if I was gonna go see a Van Halen concert, I would be, not now, obviously, but I would much, I would like definitely want to see Van Halen with David Lee Roth. Like that's.
Well, there's a reason why people call it Van Halen and then Van Hagar.
And what do they call the Gary Sharon? Just like Van.
Not a lot of people talk about that
Van
era.
Extreme.
Although I saw them play with Gary Sharon.
Was that Extreme?
Was
was that the band that Gary Sharon was in? Yeah, I had a friend in high school who loved Extreme.
Hey, more than words. Great jam.
Few good songs. Yeah. So, but yeah, so Rockstar. You know what, John? Who's the most metal band you've gone to see?
Oh, that I've gone to see? Well, it's funny because we talk about Van Halen, but I don't really think of them as a metal band so much as like a party band.
But are they the most metal band that you've seen?
Well, in LA, I have seen Steel Panther, which is a throwback band, I guess you could call them, and I don't know if they're active anymore, but their whole thing is, they play at like, I don't know, the Whiskey or the Roxy or something like that. And they are an 80s metal
Yeah.
band. So I suppose that's probably the most metal band I've seen, if you would count that.
I mean, yeah. I think, for us,
the lead singer of which makes a cameo in Rockstar as the singer who's auditioning before Chris at the Steel Dragon
makes
studio.
perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm sitting here like I've asked the question and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, who's the most metal band I've seen? Like Kings of Leon? I'm like
the Gin Blossoms.
Meatloaf.
There's some Meatloaf that goes a little heavy, but still not that heavy.
I mean, I'm thinking, I guess maybe Pearl Jam might be, but like,
oh boy,
no, I have not been to
Dan, you're giving at the beginning of the episode, we told everybody that we were like super metal guys. You can't tell them that the heaviest band you've seen is Kings of Leon.
I was hoping everyone else had forgotten about that as I did. Hey man, Kings of Leon, fucking metal. No.
Sure.
No. Great.
I don't know. I've seen Foo Fighters, but they're not that heavy. They're not metal. I think Van Halen is Van Halen or Steel Panther.
I saw Styx, and I mean I'm going to put air quotes around Styx because it was Styx without, and it was you scoff. This was at a post 9/11 tribute for New Jersey, New York, like metropolitan area first responders.
I'm not scoffing at the fact that you saw Styx, because Styx can wail. I'm scoffing at the fact that you would consider them metal.
Well, so also on this ticket, it was not just Styx, because REO Speedwagon, Survivor.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember who else was on.
I saw Kiss.
Oh, you saw Kiss? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Look, you've got the tattoos and everything, so you're definitely more metal.
I have the least metal tattoos ever. I have a Frasier tattoo. I have an Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom tattoo. I have a Simpsons lamb. I have the Happy Foot and Sad Foot. And the Last Starfighter. The least metal tattoos ever.
Man, that Last Starfighter symbol would be awesome on a metal album. Imagine that. Imagine that just in the middle of a giant, vinyl, shiny, album cover. Anyway, back to the tone though, because there's one more clip that and it goes at the end when they go back into this let's do interviews. We have Bobby Beers.
Oh yeah. Yes, this is during the closing credits, and this is what we get from Bobby Beers.
Why did you decide not to rejoin the band?
As the mouthpiece of Steel Dragon, I realized I had this huge responsibility because the band are there, but it's me they're looking at. It's me they want to learn from. It's me that they have on their walls. And I realized that the vacuous, empty world of sex and drugs and rock and roll is not maybe the message I want to be sending out to these kids. I realized I wanted something more cerebral, something more eloquent, and something basically more dignified.
So this was a time when Riverdance was the funniest thing to mock. It actually was maybe a few years after it was the funniest thing to mock.
Yeah. I think unfortunately it had passed by now. I think Michael Flatley had gone on to be Lord of the Dance at that point. But this was but in whatever 1997, a great vortex opened up, and there was a swing music there was a swing music revival, the Macarena, and Irish step dancing were huge. Now, look, not for nothing, but a few years before was the big Gregorian chant fad. So,
oh yeah, that's right. Man, the 90s were so weird.
The 90s, it was like a roulette wheel of fads.
We had the Scat Man. We had all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm the scat man.
The scat
Wasn't
man.
that
Yeah, we had the
90s?
scat man, the Bart man.
Shibbidi-bidi-bop-bada-boop.
Yeah. Cotton Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe. Right. There was a big like country thing happening. Pseudo country techno thing.
Yeah, well, it was that, and then it just fed into like the nouveau country of Shania Twain and Faith
That's
Hill.
right, yeah.
So, but who are even less metal than me.
And speaking of you, what would you do with Rockstar 20 years later?
Well, you know, we've done so much with the music industry, and there's been Rock of Ages, the musical, and then the movie Rock of Ages. And so what do you do? Well, and I was trying, I think a loose remake is in order. I think.
Okay.
And what's interesting is I don't know. I mean, it's like, yes, metal is still out there. And I mean, like, you know, they're like kids are still learning guitars and in bands. I mean, like I went to go see some of my, former students, playing in their band. And so it's like, it's still a thing, but I feel like this should be remade, and I think it should be remade in South Korea, and that it should be revolving around K-pop, because K-pop is a phenomenon. It's huge, and I feel like the K-pop stars are so like it's something very different, but it's also something very like stylized. And like imagine the kid, rather than putting on like the eyeliner and the thing, like the kid comes out of the bathroom getting ready to go out to like whatever, like I don't know, maybe they go to karaoke, maybe that's how they get discovered, and and they've got like fluorescent pink hair, and the conservative old grandmother is like, that is really nice, that is a really nice shade of pink there, and can you do my hair? And I mean, I feel like there's also been, and I mean, it's really like two movies that I can think of. Actually, no, that's not true. There's more. But I do feel like there's kind of like a Korean cinema has gotten more of the spotlight in recent years. And
that's true.
So I feel like the time is right, but I also feel like a lot of the what we've seen, the Korean cinema that we've seen has either been in the vein of a drama, like Parasite, or I believe Train to Busan, was that also Korean? I'm
not sure. I also don't know if I would consider Parasite to be a drama. It's more of like a cerebral pseudo thriller.
Yes. But it's not it's not really a comedy. Very dark. There's some dark humor in it.
Right.
There is some humor in it, but I think like a music centered comedy set around the world of K-pop. I mean, I don't know much about it, but
all you need to know, which is that it's hugely popular, and that what people would have considered to be a guilty pleasure, since so many people now have admitted to having that pleasure, it's no longer guilty for people, and nor should it be. But what I do find interesting is that you are suggesting now making a movie about K-pop, whereas Rockstar made a movie that took place 15 years prior, essentially. And the equivalent to that now would be like an emo version. Like if we're taking the Rockstar framework, which is like, all right, 15 years in the past, which in the music years, I feel like the difference between 2000-ish and 1985-ish seemed a lot further away than like maybe now. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, well, because I also think that that's when, music, where we're in that post-grunge world, and that was also when music started to kind of get more like fragmented and splintered off, and where it was less like, less central. But yeah, I also, and I am saying like set it contemporarily, or I don't know, whatever, set it in 2015. But I'm like, we don't need to, I think something this movie handles pretty well is being set in the 80s without being 80s, showing like all the like, new Coke.
Yeah, totally. Like showing Angeline
like, hey, I got McDLTs.
I think they're still up. But yeah, exactly. Somebody was talking about McDLTs.
The hot
side
on, like,
Twitter
stays hot
something.
and the cool side stays cool.
My God.
No, it was very much is set in the 80s without being all about being set in the 80s.
No.
So, and I just don't, I feel like for my K-pop remake of Rockstar, you don't need to. You don't need to.
Gotcha.
What are you going to do? What you going to do, brother?
Well, I said earlier, 20-year anniversary. I think it'd be a perfect opportunity to do a re-release, maybe do like an outdoor cinema re-release, and have like metal musicians like do a show before the movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like have a band that plays like almost do like a Rocky Horror. This was something I was thinking actually while I was watching it.
Well, yeah. I was also thinking about kind of like a Rocky Horror thing, but you can't force that.
No.
It just that has to happen organically. But yeah, I think that like you have metal bands play, you have them do some of the songs from the movie, because honestly, pretty good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah. And what, one thing we really barely talked about Jennifer Aniston. And I think that the casting of Jennifer Aniston is another way that this movie tries to like flip the cliches. And I actually, I was curious. I was like, I wonder if there was any consideration to like the casting of Meg Ryan in The Doors. And the casting of Jennifer Aniston in Rockstar just seems like, I don't know, like they're like an analogous there. But Jennifer Aniston, like as Emily, is into it at the beginning. Like she's into it, like and when they have the first concert, and when like the what's her name, like Tanya, is coming on to them, like she's into it. She's not like disgusted by the whole thing.
No, and she's great as the manager for Blood Pollution. She's very charismatic. She's part of that scene. It's not like she's just the girlfriend. She's very much a part of the scene.
She rips Timothy Olyphant's underwear off from under his pants. Oh, she cuts
it with scissors.
Cuts with scissors, yeah.
Which is an awesome moment. But yeah. And speaking about Timothy Olyphant, I just want to play a clip. This is from when Chris is still in Blood Pollution, and they are having a big falling out moment, just because I just want to play as much Timothy Olyphant as possible because it's really great. And what I want you to pay attention to is, remember that when they're filming this, no one's hearing the music. So this first like scream thing that Timothy Olyphant does, I'm just picturing that without any of the song behind them. So go ahead and do yourself a favor and do that too.
What was that, man? What was what? There's no solo break after the chorus. They don't care. Ah! That's not how the song goes. Dude, I know how the song goes. Well, if you know how it goes, then play it right. Chris, you were taking this shit too seriously. That's right, I take this shit really seriously because the music deserves to be taken seriously. If you don't take it seriously, you don't deserve to play it. All right, you need to get a grip. Get a grip. You've ruined your performance. Do not ruin mine.
So I love it.
Wahlberg also does petulant really well. And
he really does.
And this is man, Mark Wahlberg I wrote this down. He can give performances that would feel at home in a satirical film without realizing it. And it's like, I was thinking about his performances that I've found most believable, because I also recently watched The Happening, the M. Night Shyamalan film, The Happening, which I'm
say what you feel.
No, I'm mystified by it. I don't know how I feel about it because I don't know what the intentions were with it. But his performance in it, it's like his performance in that movie must have been what inspired Andy Samberg's impression, like the Mark Wahlberg talks to animals on SNL, because every line he says sounds like that. And I was like, he's not at all believable, and he's fucking terrible in The Happening. Zooey Deschanel also terrible, so I don't know if it was by design, but I was thinking about his performances that felt most believable, and he does, like in this movie. That's why I feel like they should have leaned more into the satire, because I feel like he's at his most believable when you're like, it's kind of like everyone else is in on the joke except for you, dude. Huckabees, glad he is so believable in that.
Yeah, he's amazing in Huckabees. So anyway, I don't know. I love the way that how genuine they play this movie. I think is so great. It makes me really happy. It kind of gives you the chills at moments, when, he's outperforming Bobby Beers, when they're at the Steel Dragon concert. I don't know. It's just like, it's fun.
Which is then how he ends up when that scene repeats itself during his last gig. Yeah. Talk about a great moment is when he sees himself, and he sees that kid in the crowd who can hit all the notes and who also isn't worn out, and he brings him up on stage and he gives him the mic and makes him the lead singer of the band mid-show. That's a fantastic moment, and that's also why I believe that when I say loose remake, I mean loose remake, because there are elements of this film that you cannot recreate, that just need to be enjoyed. So, which is why I also like your idea of some type of cinematic re-release, a theatrical, maybe like a tour. Like I would love to see, I would love to see like a road show, like, I don't know who's available from this movie, but tour the movie, do Q&As, get people back in theaters.
I could see Timothy Olyphant getting really into it.
I would love that. I mean, it depends on, and where you're going. It's like, all right, maybe, all right, Mark Wahlberg shooting a movie in, San Francisco. So maybe he does the San Francisco screenings. Hopefully there's a rooftop chase in it. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun and a chance to ask questions and to ask Timothy Olyphant, all right, so how was doing that scream without any of the music behind you? And what did you do to get yourself to that moment?
I know. Well, yeah, it's this crazy weirdo movie that just kind of popped up. And then I think, because of 9/11, didn't, and here's, disclaimer. I think 9/11 was terrible. If this comes across making it seem like I don't feel that, then I just want you to know that. But I think that because of 9/11, it didn't even stand a chance at theaters. I'm sure that nobody was going to go see. Well,
is that why you think 9/11 was terrible?
I don't want to get into the details, Dan.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. I mean, no one was going to be going to go see a movie like that. If people were going to go see movies, it was probably to see something that would make them laugh, maybe. But I don't know.
I mean, and how did you know what to expect and who was really thinking about it? Yeah, and I don't remember when I saw this, but it was definitely I did not see this.
Not first run situation.
No, this would have been, I mean, I have the ticket stub in my box of ticket stubs.
Ooh.
So
Dan, I'm dying to know the date that you saw that. Is this going to be like the guy who bowled a 300 on 9/11?
No, because I did not see this movie on 9/11. Actually, you know what? I will go get it, and we can pretend that I had it right here the whole time.
Okay.
Now, I think that when I organized these, I put them in some type of order. So, let's see. Here we go.
Dan, next, for your birthday, I'm getting you a scrapbook.
It's best. It's best like this.
For your stubbies.
It's best like this. All right.
Are they still in the cigar box?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Zoolander was October 6th. Do I not have my ticket stub from Rockstar? I swore that I did. Yes. I saw it on 9/23. I saw it on September 23rd, 2001, 4:30.
So Dan has the ticket stub in front of him. Where did you see it?
I saw it at the...
Can you tell from the stub?
I saw it at the Holiday Cinema, and this
doesn't say where it is.
It was somewhere in Louisiana. I have a very vague recollection of... I have a very vague recollection of where it was. It was near the motel. I remember we walked over. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, let's see, Holiday.
So we're going to have to post a picture of this ticket stub on our Instagram at Ruined Childhoods Pod. I am thrilled that Dan is able to find this in his sea of ticket stubs.
Oh, okay, hold on. So this might have been, let's see.
Are you
Covington,
Googling
maybe?
the theater?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that this theater is still exists, but who knows? Anyway, we'll keep you updated on that. I'll post a picture of the ticket stub on the Instagram. So hey, if you saw Rockstar, whether on in the theater or on DVD via a physical Netflix shipment or otherwise, let us know your thoughts. ruinedchildhoodspod@gmail.com.
Yep. And you can check out our link tree. It's in the episode's description. It's linktr.ee/ruinedchildhoods. And I want to thank anybody who listened to this podcast and went on to the My Roadcast podcasting competition and voted for Statue of Limitations. Unfortunately, I did not win the voting portion of this, but I did get first runner-up for the competition overall.
Yeah.
Voted on by actual people in the industry, the internet and podcasting industry, and I am hugely grateful to the judges as well as Rode Microphones, whose gear I love and use, and I won some new gear, which is exciting. It's some of the same stuff that I have that I got for my job, but this is gonna be my own stuff, which is exciting. And because of this, I'm going to move forward with Statue of Limitations in a more intentional way. And so I'll keep you posted about anything going on with that. I'm going to be pitching it around a little bit to some of the networks, because one of my goals is to be able to pay the participants, any of the panelists that help me go back in time year by year of the Academy Awards, to try to figure out what movies were overlooked due to racism, xenophobia, homophobia, even like the Red Scare. It's like there's so many reasons.
Discrimination.
All sorts of discrimination, yeah. So keep your eyes and ears out for that. Dan, you've already told everyone what we're doing on the next episode, but just because it's what we do on the show, remind everyone.
Go back to the shack. All right. So, it's going to be 1980s Caddyshack, 1988's Caddyshack 2. Which I mean, wow. Caddyshack definitely has its legion of fans. Caddyshack 2 has its legions of detractors
And fans.
And yes, you know what? And it may just be us, but yeah. Anyway, we're gonna be talking all about Caddyshack. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, and Dan, as you ride along in the limo behind the tour bus, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey. Rock and roll.